Hello and welcome. What a pleasure to have you all listen or watch us on Spotify or on YouTube. We are Kristen and Ghislaine, and we are delivering today another episode of our amazing podcast, Who Made That Shit Up?
I was wondering if you remembered the name.
And yes, we start laughing because Kristen is seeing my face. And as I'm about to say the name of the podcast, I went like, what was it already? Wait a second. Not that we changed so many times, but it was just, what are we doing? So Kristen and I, we speak with each other often and we do many things together. So it was a little bit like, what was it today already? Oh yeah, that was Who Made That Shit Up? So anyhow, welcome. Hi. This is the setting of our podcast. We are just really all naturally discussing our lives, our relationships, our businesses, our families here live. Not too loud, sometimes loud, not too loud. And what we are actually doing is that we are challenging the norms. We are challenging everything that we believe to be true and everything that is believed to be true around us so we can create our own reality, our new paradigm. Did I miss anything?
No.
Yay! I did
You
wonderful
got it.
again. Whoopee, whoopee, whoopee.
And we like to dance.
Yes, we like to dance, we like to
And sound
sing.
effects.
Yes, and we are super happy to be here today again because we just, yeah, really, really love to ask ourselves who made that up? Who made that up? And so just before we started, I'm going to dive right in, Kristen, if that's,
Go for it. Yes,
yeah.
please.
So just before we started, we're having a short conversation. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? And what is alive for me at the moment is that whenever I have moments in my life that I am really taking ownership of the course of my life, standing for what I want, letting all my insecurities to the side and not letting my insecurities guide me, and that I enter the world with that frequency and that energy, the world reflects anger to me. I'm going to say anger and insecurity and non-understanding. And yeah, so this happened in the past with friends. It happened with family. It happened with friends and with friends and with friends because there's not much family left, so it can't happen with family anymore. Just joking. But yeah, basically just the fact that whenever I so for me, it's like I'm fully standing for myself. I can understand because I'm someone that likes to reflect and I'm absolutely not a mean person. So I'm not someone that would just rag. "Ugh, I don't want to see you anymore because you don't fit into my life." And it's not really what it's about. What it's about is just really making choices for myself that are in full alignment for myself. And it takes a lot of courage for me to do this because I find it very difficult to show myself and to eventually, to maybe not eventually, but to maybe have people that, are gonna like me less, which is probably also the reason why I'm conforming to their expectations. And then all of a sudden I go, okay. So I get, I prepare myself, I prepare, and all of a sudden I know which direction to go. I go and I'm this unstoppable force. And it's like people, I don't know, I've come lovingly to think that, oh, so cute, they don't want to leave me. They want me to leave them because they're afraid I'm going to leave them. But in the meantime, they are so freaking mean and awful to me. And I'm like, and then at one point, I'm like, okay, get out. I'm not accepting you in this way in my life anymore. Anyhow, so there's the door. I hope see you maybe. And there's no grudge to the people that have left or the people that didn't want to be, they didn't want to respect me actually in the new me that I was. So I feel like I've been talking for hours and it's just 2 minutes, but it's so to me, it's very tiring. It's very draining to speak about this because obviously there's something for me to look at as this is happening again. So should I enter the world with more kindness, Kristen? Oh, and my window is open. Someone is coming past by with blasting music. Did you hear it or not?
A little bit, but not the blasting music, just
Okay.
the car.
Ah, doof, 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 doof. I'll do the blasting.
So I have some reflections to share.
Oh.
So I have had this happen to me as well many times.
Mhm.
And in this, I've found for me, and maybe you can reflect on this within like your friendships or groups or mentors you've worked with or anything like that, where when someone changes the rules, we don't like it.
Mm. No.
And so what happens is when we start standing in our truth, we're changing the rules.
Mhm.
And when we change the rules on someone, they don't know how to respond all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's more, I think what I've found is it's more them trying to gain their footing, not always in the nicest way. I mean, let's be honest, it's not always in the nicest way, but because they don't know how to interact anymore. They
Mhm.
don't know the rules of the unspoken rules of the friendship or the relationship, or they don't know if we want to take out rules, put in like the patterns or the habits of the friendship. Like they shift and change. And when things shift and change, people are thrown off, can be thrown off.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times we can see their own wounding in the sense of, I don't really like the word wounding, it sounds like very aggressive, but like we can see their fear of abandonment, their fear of rejection come up, because when you change something sometimes then it's like it's like, okay, well now I don't know how to respond to this
Mhm.
because this has not been our pattern.
Mm. Yeah.
And so now now they go on like defense or they feel threatened in a way that like the relationship has shifted or the dynamic has shifted and they feel threatened and don't know how to respond. So then we tend to get like either an aggressive response or a not so nice one, or we can hit their fear of abandonment and rejection. And then because they're in a response, we can go into a response.
Mhm.
And it's that like response, it's the response domino effect.
Yeah.
Like it's that.
So it's action, reaction. So there's an action from my
Mhm,
side and there's a reaction and it's based on, and I understand this as I guess me as well. When the rules change, well, I guess I'm sure of it. When the rules change, there's an adaptation.
mhm,
I know that when, because I have the habit to look at myself, to look at
mhm,
it. So when rules change, I tend to go into what can I do about it?
mhm,
And maybe I'll even sometimes feel guilty, feel like there is something wrong with me, like I did something. Most of the people that I have encountered, they went into full uh, attacking me.
mhm,
Not funny, funny. Um, and in that way, projecting their fear.
mhm. Yeah.
So, and there's no good way or bad way. It's just that what I know is how you do anything is how you do everything. And so what
Mhm.
is maybe also very interesting to look at, because I don't particularly want to stay hanging on the okay,
Yeah.
what to do and blah 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 blah, because in my eyes, every situation that keeps on coming into my life is an invitation to look at something that is, I can say deeper or bigger, but that is like an umbrella where all those situations fall under or gather under. You know, they gather all together under the umbrella and they're like, we're gonna make Gislaine's life miserable until she discovers us, and poof, umbrella is gonna be gone. So I'm on the verge of discovering something. So as I've had this situation many times, and as I am at a point in my life where I know exactly how I want to bring my message forth into the world via my business. I'm like a train, you know, there's one fast lane and I'm on it. And especially because I've been looking for many, many years on, well, looking is maybe not the right word. I've been redefining for many, many years.
Yes.
And it's got more precise and more precise and more aligned with my soul, with my dharma, with my supreme destiny. And as I feel I'm getting closer and closer and closer and closer, I'm becoming more and more relentless in I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And I'm definitely not going to go over bodies because this is not the person that I am, but I am getting there.
Mhm.
So if I look at the way I would react when people change the rules, going into, I want to say fuck. I don't know if I'm allowed to say fuck. Fuck! Victim mentality.
Well, if you weren't, you just said it like
I hate it when I find things out that I'm like, shit, I've been doing it all the time. I've been doing it. Well, I kind of go into victim mentality. You know, when other people change the rules, I kind of go a little bit into victim mentality and into, oh, poor little me, they changed the rules, nah, 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 nah. And it's not literally like this. Yes, for people that
no,
are
I, I,
listening,
I,
you know me.
I would be like, we're not having this conversation like this. So.
So, trying to gather all my thoughts, but as how you do anything is how you do everything. If in situations where rules are being changed, I go into victim mentality, and as when I notice that I change the rules, how other people react, there's something for me to look at here. Do you understand? Do you get
Mhm.
all the things that I'm
Well,
putting together?
yes,
Yeah.
because what can happen is you could look at it as victim or you could look at it as survival.
Oh, thank you. I prefer that word.
Yeah, it sounds so much nicer
Yeah, it
because
sounds so much nicer. Yeah.
because it's like that your nervous system is gets overwhelmed and it's triggering those survival needs of like how do I keep, and this is for anyone, like how do we keep our environments like the same, because that's really what our brain tries to do all the time, which is why change is hard. And or it can be, I don't want to say it is hard, it can be hard. I think there, side note, there are so many ways to not make it hard, but as
Yes,
a
and I mean
society.
it depends also probably on the things that are being changed, because there's change all the time. Some things don't bother us and some things trigger us.
Because we only define change as negative, most people. We're not like, oh my gosh, I got the best promotion and it's so amazing. And like, or, oh, I like, we see change, you know, as more the harder things consciously. Like, yes, it's all change. Going into a new relationship, moving into a new house, like those things we look at in that we want as positive. We look at it as a positive thing, right? So then we don't sometimes even acknowledge the grief of what we're like the shift, because we're like, oh, I don't have a right to be sad about something because I wanted this.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
or I don't have a right to, like, we just completely bypass those feelings because it's something we chose. But when it's something we don't choose,
Mm-hmm.
then we can go into this was done to me, which can be the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can go into, well, I need to like bring this back into homeostasis. I need to bring my body into safety. I need to bring everything. That's what our brain does, right? Like bring everything into safety. And how do we do that? Because then it does feel like an attack to somebody.
Yeah.
And so how people do that shows like can show where their fears are and can show like where they are, because I mean we all react differently
Mm-hmm.
to everything. But
Yeah.
don't not I think it's more like the survive our body goes we go into survival, and survival is what we feel is safe, and safe is what we feel is normal and not shocking to our physical system.
So what you are actually telling me is that others people's reactions, but there is no others, it's only me. So people's reactions that I notice, they are actually showing me that I might be not taking enough time to go into the transition,
Mm.
to mourn the transition. Now, mourn is, well, mourn sounds very
Acknowledge.
negative. Okay, merci. Thank you. Thank you for knowing your English.
I hope it's decent.
What did you say? I already lost the word.
Acknowledge, acknowledge.
But yeah. So that I might not be taking enough time to acknowledge the change for myself.
Mhm.
And I'm rushing into the new, which is really funny because this is something my mentor said to me a few weeks ago. She was talking to me. We were talking, and she said she gave a few suggestions of things to do and how to, you know, how to maybe look at things. And she went, but don't go rushing into it. Wait a little bit, a few days.
And I think,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that in some of it, that where we can like open into that is also acknowledging that like us changing
Mhm.
and us changing changes the reality of someone else in it as well,
Mhm.
and that people need to adjust, we like in giving grace in the adjustment time for other people,
Mhm.
because I think like I mean when I don't think any of us see this more than when we first start on our path,
Mhm.
like our whatever that path is, like when we're doing a big change, when we've changed drastically, the people in our world are like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Yes, this, and it's also because when you welcome change, when you want to go for change, they think, what the heck are you doing? Because you're also confronting them with the fact that they are staying at the same stage or
Mhm.
place or whatever, because we are beings that are meant to evaluate, that are meant to create, that are meant to go forth. It's we are a creation force as individuals, as you know, you and me together, as a group and as a society. And so we all have in us this will to move forward and to create. And for someone it can be to plant a garden, for someone it can be to have a family, and you know, so we all have but this moving forward. And whenever someone that we witness moves forward and it calls us,
Mhm.
makes it very confrontational when we are not able to just answer the call to change. Then we go into fear and into we will, yeah, yes, exactly. We can go into fear and into rejection of the other person's change instead of why using it as an inspiration. Yeah.
Well, and I think like in any of those, like it's so much easier to see in the big things. Like if you think about how in a relationship, like if one of the partners adds something new into their life,
Hmm.
how does that affect the other partner? Right. Like, so there's like that balancing time, or I'm sure like when you were, I don't want to speak for you, but like, I'm sure you experienced this a lot when you released a lot of weight.
Hmm.
Like the dynamics of what you were doing shifted and it changes your relationship. It's the same like when someone's drinking and stops drinking, or even someone who's smoking and kind of quits smoking, their dynamics with everyone are shifting.
Yes.
Or, saving money versus spending lots of money.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I'm not going out to do that anymore. So like, but when we do those things, we've changed ourselves, but it impacts in positive ways. I would say all positive, but it's not perceived as positive. Everyone who's in our life.
Yes.
And so in the bigger ones, like, or there's that we give some, like sometimes depending on what it is, those friendships end because they weren't based on solid actual foundations. They were based on an activity.
Yes, that's a possibility. Or there is really because this is also what happened with some family members of mine. They just can't accept the new version.
Hmm.
They
And
are
that,
they are afraid of everything that it means and everything that it doesn't mean, or just of the unknown. And so they just basically refuse to enter a new kind of relationship because this is what it is. Every time we change and we make drastic, because we change every day. The conversation we are having
mhm.
this week, you and I, is totally not the same as the one where we would be having next week. We will be having next week, or we would have had last week. G words.
I gotcha. I gotcha.
So many words. I feel there's a better way to communicate with each other. Maybe we should start to do telepathic conversation. It's going to be silent.
That no one can listen.
Maybe we're going to create a silent podcast. Tune in to the frequency of the thoughts we are exchanging. Well, that's never been done before.
That might have to, yeah, I don't know. That would be interesting.
Be interesting. Okay. But I can't remember what I was saying. Because I'm having
We're
some.
constantly changing.
Yes, exactly. We are constantly changing. So the small changes, we just, it's easy to go along with. But when we sense, or when it's, when we sense that there's a big change coming, it's really difficult. It's like when a friend of mine got a new relationship. It's a big change because I'm not saying. I mean, this also happens to me. But anyhow,
Mhm.
she entered a new relationship, and then the whole dynamic of who she is in a relationship, because there was a new partner, changed. And so there's always a time of adjustment, adaptation, and that kind of things, and of changes. And sometimes it's really easy peasy, and sometimes it's really difficult. And yeah, sometimes you just really don't like the new partner. That was when we were like studying, so that was a very long time ago, but we're still friends, so that's good. But yeah, she entered a new relationship, and the person that came into her life brought changes with him that I really didn't like. Funny, yeah. So big changes, small changes. Yes, please.
Yeah, and I think like it's interesting that we went into this aspect because we were talking about even, or I was visiting a friend and we were talking about the changes of friendships
Yeah.
over time. And in that, like looking at also what is it, because sometimes we hold on to things too that we shouldn't be holding on to,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
no longer meant to be in our life, or like I mean, we've talked about this so many times, like that redefining what something is, because it's changed. And because it's changed, it's time to like relook at it, redefine it, and then decide, am I okay with it like this, or am I not?
Mm-hmm.
And in that looking at, there's a reason, everything in our life has a reason or a season.
Mm-hmm.
And some seasons are meant to last a long time, and some seasons are blips in our story, right? And so are we holding on to things, or are we at different stages in those relationships? Because maybe the relationship doesn't end, the stage just shifts into something new.
Exactly. I feel that you are pinpointing exactly what the issue is. The issue is that we are holding on to something instead of allowing ourselves to float with the change.
Mhm. Because we are holding on to our past the way we see it in the past. It's the same we were saying with family,
Mhm.
right? They can hold on to this old version. Like, I know that sometimes my parents still see me as the like 5-year-old. Like, I'm not a 5-year-old anymore. I was a really cute 5-year-old though.
I'm gonna need to see pictures now.
I will definitely send them. But like, you can be compared to past versions too. And I sometimes say, in this, I have said this to my parents, would you like me to compare you to who you were 20 years ago?
Mm, that's a beautiful question.
Would you like me to compare you to like, or, like, because we get, my family's all about telling like the stories, my extended family, like we get together and we have fun rehashing all the crazy stories from the past. And it's fun because now we can laugh at them.
Mhm.
I mostly enjoy it when it's about like my aunts and uncles and not about me, but
Yeah, of course.
but like, yeah, that's who we were. It's not who we are.
Mm. Yeah.
And like comparing someone to who they were even yesterday in some ways is not even fair, because we're constantly changing. And anytime you do have a new awareness, doing a healing or have anything, you're a different person.
Hmm. Exactly. You are meant to be a completely different person. So I often say it's not the battle of the fittest, it's the battle of the most adaptable.
Mm,
And isn't that just what is happening now? When I look at me, can I adapt to someone not fully understanding the choices that I make, or whatever, the way I want to go, the path I want to walk on, and just adapt to her contraction and not have it prevent me to continue
mm.
to evolve and to
And
change.
yeah, and what actual freedom that gives you,
Yeah.
because really the gift in that is freedom for you.
Yes, and the reason why I haven't been completely embracing it is because, as I shared in the beginning, I go into, I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her to feel bad. I don't want her to have the idea that she's losing me, because it's not my point of, leaving and saying adios amigos, I will see you whenever I will see you. That's not the, so there's something in me that also wants to keep the old Ghislaine alive to not disappoint anyone else. Oh my God.
It's that lovely people, that beautiful people pleaser that can come back up occasionally.
Yes.
I get it. I do. I mean, I think, you know, in this, because really the goal, I would say, for me, is to flow with the changes, right? Like flow with the seasons, flow with, weather-wise, we have seasons, life cycles, we have seasons. Like we're not an infant forever. We and those things are naturally occurring. But
Mhm. The
today,
cycles of,
the
the
cycles of
natural cycles of life, the wheel,
Mhm.
which is something that I speak a lot in my wheel program. The cycles of life, we are meant also to, for cycles to repeat and to come back and to be in ever evoluting. Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. And in that, can we flow through it? Or are we trying to control it? Because I think so much of the world functions, including myself, has a control aspect, right? It's something where I feel I'm constantly diving more into that surrender and that flow,
Mhm.
right? But like we can have in the feeling attacked, or like people responding through attack. It's because there's a control, and in that control comes from fear, and that fear comes from abandonment or whatever, rejection, and that comes from survival.
Mhm.
And so it's those layers that need, like, that we like look at to move into, like, why is this triggering my survival? Why is this triggering my fight and flight? Because that's survival, right?
And it's really interesting because I feel that, and this is why maybe sometimes it's so difficult to find something to speak about in our conversations, because it feels like we're having the same conversation over and over and over with a different team,
With the different twist.
with a different twist. It's all about getting our nervous system as stable as possible so we can get the human out of the way. Oh, for people listening, I'm doing air quotes. Out of the air quotes. So we can get the human out of the way so that our body truly just becomes a channel for our supreme destiny. I feel
Mhm.
like every conversations we've been having, every challenges I've been having in the last year, and every conversations I've been having about how to get myself out of this mess again, or all of this thought pattern or whatever that I created, it comes down to just make sure your nervous system is settled, and then
Ooh, I
move.
just had this big,
Yes.
like,
Okay.
what if it's not about getting the human out of the way?
Mhm.
What if it's about bringing the human with us? Because in that, like, aspect of, because I do this too, like shutting the human up, I'm really rejecting that part of me.
Yes.
And so in that, like, okay, I hear you. Like, I hear that this is the issue. Like, I hear you think this is the issue. And then, I mean, this is a lot of what we do. And so it's also still around it's more around like the wording, I think, like,
Yeah,
than,
because
than,
I agree with you. The human, and also because the human and the body and the Kristen and the Ghislaine are the the the, the human beings that are having this experience. So we need to
Mhm.
take them with us. We need to, yeah.
Yeah. And so they have to come along, otherwise we're
We have
out.
to come along, so we
Um,
have to heal them. Oh my God.
but it's in that nervous system aspect. I think it's something that if we're not addressing certain things, if we don't address the fears, and we
Mhm.
don't address the survival, if we don't address the fight and flight, freeze, fawn, whatever, the whole, all the F's, then we won't get very far,
No.
because our body won't really, like, the force won't work.
And we won't trust where we are being guided to go as well.
And we won't, it will, in some ways, then we'll feel it in our body,
Hmm.
because we're not listening
Well,
very well all the time.
that's what I believe illnesses to be. I believe
Mhm.
illnesses to be an outing in the body of something emotional, mental, or spiritual that is in disbalance.
Mhm.
It's
And
it
even
shows in the body. Yeah.
definitely shows in the body. And to, and sometimes like I was working with a client the other day, and sometimes it's just knowing, like consciously knowing to help us feel safe that like these are our options,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you don't have to, use these options, but let's look at like what the options are available to you, and all of a sudden your body's like, okay, I can move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So fascinating.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
So how can we go with the flow of the seasons and the stages and the changes?
Yes, how can we truly embrace the changes, and not only the changes that we are consciously bringing forward, but also the changes that occur around us, and just as smoothly as we would like other people to accept our changes, how can we just lean into the changes of all the things that are happening around us instead of fighting, leaning in?
Mhm. And give ourselves and others grace.
Yeah, I like it. So let us know. Listener, watchers. I like to say watchers because it's funny. It's a funny word. Okay. So people listening to us on Spotify or watching us on YouTube, if you have any insights to help us grow further, is more than welcome.
Yes, I would love for people to share
That's why we're having those
share
conversations.
what they have as well.
Yeah. And let us know, how can you, how is it you always ask your end of our conversations question, because you always do that. You're
Now I'm
inviting.
like, how do I
The
always do that?
invitation, yeah.
We
The
invite
invitation
you.
is
So the invitation is
yes.
to ask yourself, how can you the invitation is where to look at, are there areas of your life where you're forcing something to move forward,
Mhm.
or you're pulling something from the past that's ready to shift and evolve?
Mhm.
And how can you let that flow
Mm.
without trying to control it, and just let it move through the cycle, and to then acknowledge though how you feel about the change, because yeah, I won't go on and on, but
No, we did it before beforehand. Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful invitation, Kristen. It was a pleasure to be here with you again today.
I'm
And
here
I will see you next
sending
time.
you lots of love.
Bye.